Anytime you use an app on your phone, you're interacting with something called DevOps. You just don't see it. It's kind of like this invisible engine that's constantly running in the background, making sure all the technology we use every day gets better, faster, and more reliable. So how on earth does it all work? Let's get into it.
We've all been there, right? You're so excited for a new feature. You wait forever for the update. And when it finally drops, it's buggy or it breaks something else. It's super frustrating. Well, it turns out that exact problem is usually a symptom of a much deeper conflict that happens completely behind the scenes.
So, in the old way of doing things, you basically had two teams that were almost working against each other. On one side, you've got the development team, or dev. Their whole job is to build cool new stuff and to do it fast. On the other side, you have the operations team, ops. Their job is to keep the lights on, make sure everything is stable and doesn't crash. And these two goals, they would constantly clash, creating this huge wall between them that led to slow releases, a ton of errors, and a lot of blaming each other.
So, today, we're going to break down how the tech world is fixing this. We'll start with what DevOps even is. We'll look at its core philosophy, something called CALMs. We'll walk through what an engineer's day actually looks like and the kind of skills they need. And, maybe most importantly, we'll talk about why any of this matters to you.
Okay, let's start with the big one. What exactly is DevOps? Well, at its heart, it's the answer to that wall problem we were just talking about. It's all about building a bridge between those two separate worlds.
To put it simply, DevOps is really a movement. It's about breaking down those walls, getting rid of those silos. It's not just a fancy job title or a piece of software. It's a completely different way of working. The whole idea is to get developers and operations folks to collaborate and share responsibility so they can get software out the door way more efficiently.
And this quote from Atlassian just hits the nail on the head. This is so important. You can buy all the best, most expensive tools in the world, but if your teams aren't talking to each other, if they're not collaborating, you're not doing DevOps. It is first and foremost a culture change that fixes human problems.
So, how do you actually build that culture? Well, a lot of companies use a framework called CALMs. You can think of it as the set of guiding principles. It's really the cultural backbone for making DevOps happen. So CALMs is an acronym, right? C is for culture. That's the foundation, getting everyone to share the same goals. A is for automation, letting machines do the repetitive work so humans don't make mistakes. L is for lean, which is all about cutting out waste and only doing what adds value. M is for measurement, using real data to see if you're actually improving. And S is for sharing, making sure knowledge and feedback flow freely between teams so everybody gets smarter together. But if there's one phrase that really captures the spirit of this whole thing, it's you built it, you run it. What this means is that the developers who actually write the code, they're now also responsible for helping to run it and maintain it out in the real world. This creates this incredible sense of ownership, and it totally demolishes that old wall between dev and ops.
All right, enough with the philosophy. What does a DevOps engineer actually do all day? Let's take a look at a typical day to see how all these ideas actually play out in the real world.
Now, obviously no 2 days are ever the same, but you can kind of break it down into a rhythm. It's this constant mix of looking ahead and planning, but also being ready to react and solve problems that pop up.
The day usually kicks off with a system health check. An engineer will jump into these monitoring dashboards, tools like Grafana or Datadog, to see how everything's running. They'll look at any alerts that might have fired off overnight, check for any incident reports, and then they'll sync up with the whole team in a quick stand-up meeting to plan out the day.
Then, the middle of the day is really all about building. This is where they're writing scripts to automate tasks. They're managing something called the CI/CD pipeline, which is just a fancy term for the automated assembly line that takes code from a developer's laptop and gets it ready for the world. And, of course, they're helping other developers in scanning for security risks.
Now, this term on the slide, infrastructure as code, or IAC, it sounds way more complicated than it is. The best way to think about it is like a very detailed recipe for baking a cake. Instead of manually setting up a server, you write a file that has all the instructions. That way, you get the exact same result, perfectly consistent every single time. No guesswork.
Of course, there's the official job description, and then there's the day-to-day reality. And I gotta say, this quote from a user on Reddit made me laugh because it's so true. A huge part of the job is just helping developers navigate the super complex systems that their code has to run on. It's a teaching role as much as it is a technical one.
And that brings us to what it actually takes to do this job well. A truly great DevOps engineer is a special kind of hybrid,
someone who can blend really deep technical knowledge with some absolutely essential people skills.
On the technical side, yeah, you have to know your stuff. We're talking cloud platforms, scripting languages, automation tools, the whole 9 yards. But, and this is the key part, what really separates the good from the great are the soft skills. They have to be amazing problem solvers, great communicators, and incredible collaborators, because their whole job is being that human bridge between people and technology. Here's another amazing perspective from Reddit that sums it up perfectly. At the end of the day, the goal is to make life easier for developers. By taking care of all the complicated stuff, the security, the infrastructure, the deployment pipelines, DevOps engineers free up developers to do what they do best, write amazing code.
Okay, so we've talked about the what, the how, and the who. But now let's zoom out and ask the most important question. Why? Why do companies put so much effort into this? Well, the answer is all about the impact it has on the product you end up using.
And the results really do speak for themselves. I mean, they're dramatic. Companies that really embrace DevOps see way fewer failed deployments. They have less downtime, meaning the app is almost always working. And at the same time, they can release new features at a speed that was unthinkable before. It's a total game changer.
So if you remember one thing, let it be this. While we've been talking about the DevOps engineer, the real goal here is to build a DevOps culture. It's a mindset. It's shared by everyone in the company, all focused on one thing, working together to build the best possible software for their customers.
And that's our deep dive. So the next time your favorite app updates and it just works, seamlessly, no bugs, take a second to think about what made that possible. Chances are it wasn't just someone doing their job, it was a whole team, a whole company that was dedicated to building a culture of collaboration.